Welcome to another edition of the BFT Chat with me, Norvan Acquah Hayford. Today we are speaking to Miss Charlotte Lily Baidoo. She is the Chief Executive Officer of Women's World Bank here in Ghana. She will be talking to us on the banking industry, how we can make it strong, and what will be the rippling effect of having a stronger banking sector on the Ghanaian economy. Thank you very much, Madam Charlotte, for joining us on the BNFT chat. I mean, let's look at the banking sector in general. Would you say that Ghana has a strong banking sector which can help boost the kind of economy that we have?
Okay, thank you for being here. I think that it's still work in progress. I will not say that we have a strong banking sector. I think it's still work in progress because when you even look at the capital base, the whole economy is lacking from private sector capital. It is simply not there. Even though the government is trying to build an economy where it will be driven by private sector, the capital base is not there. So I will not say we have a strong banking sector for now. It's still work in progress.
When you talk of capital base, which is not there, what's the problem in that sector? What is happening? Is it that the government is stifling the private sector of the funds they need to be able to work and expand? Or it has to do with the fact that the funds are just not there, considering the kind of interest rates the banks charge in this country when these people have to access facilities?
You know, interest rate normally is determined by the cost of fund. So it depends on your cost of funding. If your cost of fund is low, obviously you will charge low. If the cost of fund is high, obviously you will charge high because we work with risk premium. So you need to pay your logistics, you need to pay all your expenses. So obviously it's determinant on cost of funds. So if the cost of fund is low, we will charge low rate. If it's high, there's nothing we can do. As of December last year, for instance, the T-bill rate, which normally determines the cost of borrowing in Ghana, was hovering around 23% and co. But right now, it came down drastically to 11% even last month. As we speak, it has gone up again. So we don't even know. We thought that it was going to a single digit. Unfortunately, now, we don't know where it's going. Right now, the 1 year note is 15%. 182 is 13%. So the thing that we thought was going down, so all of us decided that we're going to bring down our cost of borrowing. Unfortunately, it's not so. We are not seeing that. So it's difficult for us to even reduce it. If we are still buying the money as high as 25%, 30%, how much should we put on loans? Obviously, we need to put the rate on loans more than what we are buying. So that's the problem that we have. And this is stifling capital.
I see. You talk of the fact that TB rates have come to 11 and they are now somewhere 13, 15, 17, depending on which term you're looking at. Even at the time when we've also seen inflation and policy rate also come down. Is it that, I mean, are we talking of artificial, reduction in TB rate, or the fact that these things are unrealistic?
I would say so. I would say that it's unrealistic because I don't think the policy rate has come down drastically because it's still hovering around the same figure. It came down 1 or 2 basis points, and that is where it is. Right now it's 23.5, right?
Yes.
So if the policy rate is 23.5, obviously, if indeed we are going to have a stronger CD and we are going to have a stronger economy, then the rate of inflation should come down drastically to a single digit. The policy rate should equally come down to say 15%. Then we will know that indeed rates are coming down. But you cannot allow only T-bill rate to come down when the policy rate is still hovering around 20s. It's difficult.
So the policymakers, you would say, have to do more.
The regulators need to do more. They need to do more in this sense.
But they are also probably looking at other fundamentals of the economy, and I'm sure that the economics, when they sit, they are looking at various, considering various fundamentals, and they are saying that, okay, we think that this is where our economy should be.
You know, the whole thing is gearing towards interest rate. If the interest rate, or if the exchange rate, we do something about the exchange rate and the CD becomes stronger, I think we should be fine. Right now, all of us are dependent on importation. Everything in Ghana, most of the things in Ghana is being imported. We hardly export. We are still exporting the traditional commodities. So where are we getting the foreign exchange from? Where? We will not get it. We'll still be where we are. So we expect the government to tackle that part of the economy and make sure that at least the exchange rate is better, the dollar is better, and then we are importing more. We are exporting more than we are importing. If we are able to export more than we are importing, then things will be better for Ghana. But if we are still thinking about the traditional way of doing things, we are still not converting anything, we are still sending cocoa as it is, we are still sending timber as it is, we don't expect to do anything.
Charlotte, let me ask you something. An economy where most of the private sector that you talk about are foreign owned or still have some of these business, you have foreign partners. How do you justify the fact that you think that the exchange rate will ever come down and the city will stabilize against the dollar and will be able to, get the kind of things that we are looking for?
That is a problem. So we need to encourage indigenous businesses. We need to help indigenous businesses to grow. We need to help them with funding. I initially mentioned lack of funding, lack of private funds in the economy. So if the government can help in bringing some venture capitalists who will give some funds at a cheaper rate and will boost the economy to grow, I think so. I think if the government will help, it will help all of us. Because right now, obviously the funds are not there. So if the funds are not there, you will obviously call somebody from outside to come and partner with you because there's no local funding. The local funding is not there. So you go outside to be able to even meet the capital requirement that the Bank of Ghana will be even looking at.
Let's look at the banks proper. Some have said that we have too many banks in this country, over 30 banks, and still counting. At the last count, 33, we are still going. How does a small economy like ours support 37 banks, as you're saying, and build that stronger banks? Look at your neighbors, Nigeria. They tell us that they had over 40 banks. What the government did was to make sure that they raised the minimum capital, ask people to merge, and then be able to build those strong banks that they are looking for. But in Ghana, look at what we have.
Wonderful. What we actually need is consolidation, and we need to be mindful of the increase in numbers in terms of bank. The regulators need to probably put a ceiling in the number of banks and rather help people to consolidate to become stronger enough. We should be able to ask people who have the same ideology, the same strategy to be able to consolidate. We don't need to put square holes in round pegs or round pegs in square holes. We can't do that. So we need to be able to think through and make sure that the smaller ones come together, consolidate to become strong. That is the way. And then number two, I think that if the government itself will even pay their own debts to the people that they owe, the legacy debt that was ring-fenced here and there and now is a bond, all these things, if people are able to pay the loans that they take, I think the asset base of most of the banks will grow and they will become stronger. One thing is also corporate governance that we should look at for. Because if corporate structures are working, I believe that things should be able to work. If people respect the structures in institutions, it should be able to work. There are some of the banks that even recruitment is non-conventional, it's not scientific. The basis what they do, some of the things is not scientific. Or we live in an economy where because of the owner factor, and then whom you know in Ghana, it is very difficult for people to even make independent-minded about certain things because the powers that be is saying A, B, C, D. So if we are able to make sure that we ourselves are even conscious of our own cost, We need policies that will bring a lot of costs down. Apart from the regulatory framework, we ourselves as banks, we need to make sure that we are putting in place cost control measures, number one, and then number two, respect the structures very well. If we are given a loan and we have to go through risk policy, go through exactly what your policy states and don't cut corners. We are in an economy where people will come and beg, I beg you, you have to do this or that. I think that it is high time we forget about those things, because when you look at the multinationals, things work, the corporate governance work. So it should be able to work for us. If we are able to work on these things, I think that we will have a stronger indigenous banks.
I see. What is the one or two things that you would propose and think that if these things are done policy-wise, I mean, beyond the regulator that is government proper, these things can help us build a stronger banking industry in the country?
I think number one is the fit for all that the regulators are using. In terms of capital, for instance, they look at everybody and say, increase your capital to 250, increase savings and loan capital to 15 million, or increase savings and loan capital to this. They don't even look at your own strategy, your own capability. To me, I think that if your capital base is $100 million, they should be able to assess you based on $100 million. If your capital base is $200 million, they should be able to assess you based on that. One, fit for all size. I think that it's long time. We should be able to forget about fit for all size and make sure that the regulator is able to regulate us based on our own capital base, based on our own strategy, based on our own product that we want to do. If the government is able to do that, I think we should be able to get a stronger base, a stronger bank, which will translate into a stronger economy.
Just hold it there for me. Let me talk about the fit for all. You think that is not right, and you're suggesting that you should all be assessed, all the banks, based on your capital base. Are you proposing that the Bank of Ghana begin to look at a bracket in terms of suggesting the minimum capital that banks should have, so that there will be categories? It will say, okay, these banks can have 100 million. These banks, these kind of banks who are providing this kind of product should be between 150 or 200. And then these other banks should be in that area. Forgetting the fact that you all seem to be playing in all the areas, doing almost every product that, I mean, we see the same product every day from all of you, just that you have different names for it.
That is the problem. We should be able to segment the market, the banking market, and see that this type of market is for, say, construction. If I'm doing construction, you should give me a capital base for construction. If I am doing SME financing, you should give me capital base for SME financing. Fit for all will not help. That's what I think it should go.
Even when we already have finance houses, we have microfinance, we have all the savings and loans and all that, I thought that clearly has segmented the market, has been able to tell that this is where you belong, this is what you can do, these are your boundaries, you can't go beyond this and all that.
Unfortunately, that is just by the name. It is not real. It's not reality. All of us are chasing the same market, the same individual, the same people, the same clients. And it's even choked in the market because the savings and loans are equally chasing the bank clients. The bank clients are equally chasing the micro lenders, because initially the micro lenders or the microcredit people were not even going to the banks. The bank said they don't want them. Right now, they've all come down. They want those markets. And then it's also the savings and loan and microfinance institution. We too, when they see that, well, if you are coming to my space, then I also go to your space. There is no regulatory that says that come to my space or don't go to the space. No. The regulatory says that if you're savings and loan, you can't do Forex. That is it. It's only Forex. It didn't say that don't go and chase a current account or a savings account. You can chase any account that you want. But we are saying that at least if the market will be segmented enough, and then when you look at the number of banks in Ghana, most of them are commercial banks. Why? We should be able to have department upon department. We should be able to have construction, agri, we should have SME financing, we should have corporate financing. the bank itself needs to be able to tell us where the strategic direction of that particular bank. And I think that all of them do have the strategic direction. It is not all of them are not supposed to do commercial banking. All of them are not supposed to be commercial bankers. Unfortunately, that's what we are seeing. So we think that regulatory wise, they should be able to make sure that if you come in to say, I have heard that there's a construction bank right now, for example, if you come in to say that you are doing construction bank or you are doing mortgage lending, you should be able to focus and do mortgage lending. For instance, HFC, they used to do mortgage lending a lot. Right now, it's basically commercial. I don't know if the mortgage is there. Probably it is there, but the commercial banking aspect has swallowed the mortgage. So everybody is chasing the same commercial people, even within the market, within the central business district. They don't even go to the villages because they think it's hard time at the village. So everybody wants their Accra money. We are all chasing one particular client, which has made the clients become so sophisticated. They take multiple loans and they won't pay. And because of that, we are having asset issues. Our loans are going bad because of multiple borrowings.
I thought the credit bureau was available to you guys to be able to assess and know who has taken a loan where and what is the loan portfolio, what's the how do I put it? How does the loan look like now? Is the person paying? Has he paid? And so you can help you make a decision and say, sorry, you know what? You've taken a loan from bank A, and so we cannot give you the loan. Or you want to say the credit bureau is not working as it's supposed to?
Well, the credit bureaus are doing what they can. You know, it's information, it's a database. It's what you give is what you get. It's baggage in, baggage out. So if the financial sector is not giving them the information, what will you get? Right now, it's basically the savings and loans, the banks, and a few microfinance institutions that are giving them data. I think that we should be able to graduate from that level and even add electricity, water, phone bills. If you are not paying all that, we should be able to be there. We should see you there like the outside world. If you go to the Western countries, you see that even your utility bill is on it. So if you are the person who doesn't pay, everybody knows that you don't pay. And it's easy to even do credit referencing for people. Unfortunately, it's not like that here. And even here, some of the people themselves, we the bankers ourselves, sometimes don't even take all the information to the credit bureaus. We want to cover our clients, our very good clients. We don't want everybody to know them. So we don't even take it. So the information that they get is scanty. And it can't do more, but at least it's helping. It's better than initially that we didn't even have anything. Right now, at least some of them, you get some information, but you don't get all. Sometimes the person had gone to microfinance institution to even take, say, 500,000 Ghana cedis. You will not find it anywhere in the Credit Reference Bureau. You won't find it anywhere. And
so it has to do with regulation and the fact that compliance is not being followed as it should be.
I think so. I think there should be enforcement, and I've said it in another platform that I feel that Bank of Ghana should be able to enforce all of us to send the data. Because if there is no sanction, human beings don't work, unfortunately. So everywhere there's sanction, you see people working. As for Credit Reference Bureau, I haven't seen any sanction from the Bank of Ghana. I've seen a letter before saying that you are supposed to do it. If you don't do it, something will happen. But I haven't seen any letter. I think I was about 2 years ago when I saw the letter in my previous employment. But I haven't seen anything like that before. So it has to do with enforcement and supervision.
Do you guys have challenges? I mean, in terms of the banks, commercial banks, because we've heard a lot that the microfinance people are very worrisome. They are doing all sorts of things. They're using, some would describe as shrewd tactics, you know, in trying to cross your paths. What is the biggest challenge as far as you, the banks, are concerned with these microfinance that we have? Because there are over, or hundreds of them, let me put it that way.
Competition is healthy. So allow. We are all competing in the market space. So I think that is healthy. It is even helping most banks to be more friendlier than they used to. At first, who are you to go and open an account with StanChart? Who are you to go to Barclays? But right now, everybody can go there. So I think competition is good.
The role of women in banking. Let's look at that and finally bring this interview to an end. I mean, we've seen that when it comes to women participation in banking, some would say it's even more greater than the men. Is that the case?
Well, I think so.
You think so? You don't know so?
Well, when it comes to the non-management team, there are a lot of women. But when it comes to the management team, there are few women. That is the problem that we have.
And what can we do to resolve this?
I think that the women themselves should believe in themselves and believe that I want to reach the top. If you believe in yourself and you want to reach the top, there are a lot of sacrifices that you need to. But some people don't want to go through the sacrifices because you're a mother, you are a wife, you are supposed to take care of staff as well. And if you don't want all these things, then they rather be where they are. So they are in the banking field. Unfortunately, they are not able to move to the top because of the challenges around and the sacrifices that we go through. We go through a lot of sacrifices. In fact, you are not there as a parent. As a mother, you will hardly be available for your children. Sometimes they need you at their speech and prize giving day. You are not available. They need you to go and even drink tea and coffee in their school. You are not available. They need you to go and take... my son, for instance, recently collected an award and I wasn't there. I actually dropped him at the school and I drove off for somebody's function. And when I came back, he said, "Mommy, I collected a prize." I was so ashamed of myself. These are sacrifices that we go through and sometimes we feel guilty. So if you can't go through all this guilt, then you decide that I don't want to go to the top. But I think that it is refreshing. It is no big deal. You just have to make sure that you let people help you. You can't do it all. You have to delegate a lot. You have to delegate your PAs. You have to delegate people from home. And in Ghana, for instance, there are a lot of people who will give us helping hand. We are not in the Western cultures that you don't get hands. There are people around. If you are going somewhere, people can help you. You can leave your children. I always tell people that if you can't get anybody to take care of your home to go for a function or go and do something, then you have a problem. In Ghana, outside world, I understand. But in Ghana, when somebody is visiting you, will not even give you notice and will come. You equally will get somebody to go and dump your children for 3-4 hours and you also go. That's how the society is. So I think that we should be able to make a lot of sacrifices if you want to go to the top.
What would you say to young women who are watching you? Because, I mean, we sit in a country where now Stanchart, Barclays, yourself, talk of the private sector, you have women at the helms of affairs. You know, women as CEOs, women as managing directors of these companies. And you talk of the fact that there ought to be a lot of sacrifice and dedication and that tenacity to be able to reach the top. What would you tell a young woman who's watching you today and is going through the choice of, okay, I want to get to the top, but what do I do?
I want to encourage every young woman listening to me today that there is greater fun at the top and you can reach there. Look at the top as something that you want to reach and make sure that let that entice you to go there. You need to do little sacrifices. You need to dedicate yourself. The sacrifices will be like you have to go hungry sometimes. You have to go and borrow to even go and pay your school fees. Some of us even borrowed from banks to go and pay our MBAs. So it wasn't on a rosary platter as you see. We've all gone through problems. But there is joy and there is light at the end of every tunnel. And remember, if you put your trust in God, everything will be fine for you. You don't need to succumb to any employer's sexual desires. Don't you ever remove your panties for anybody. Remember that it is God that will put you there, no human being. My issue is, if you remove your panty for somebody today, the person might not even be there tomorrow. What if the person resigns? What will happen to you? You'll be as miserable as nothing. Focus, learn hard, dedicate. Make sure that even if you have a baby right now that you did not even need the baby, don't worry. Let somebody help you. Go back to school and God himself will reward your effort one day. Don't you ever succumb to sexual pleasures.
2017 Ghana Economic Forum. You're one of the speakers and you will be there. Why should I take time off and come to the Ghana Economic Forum?
My name is Charlotte Lily Baidoo, the CEO of Women's World Bank in Ghana. I want you to be my guest at the Ghana Economic Forum, happening on the 7th and 8th of August 2017. We are going to talk about how indigenous bank will be stronger and impact positively into their generation. Meet me there. You will never regret coming.
So you had it for yourself. Make sure that this year you are at the Ghana Economic Forum. And at the Ghana Economic Forum, you will meet Miss Charlotte Lily Baidoo and other speakers. We'll be talking about the banking industry. You never know. You're looking for a facility. This is where you have to be. You want to know about the banking sector? Be at the Ghana Economic Forum. My name is Norvan Acquah Hayford. That's how we end the BFT Chat this time around. Join us again next time for another edition.